first stop, northern England, the suburbs of Sheffield, where a few eager souls prepare to be frozen on the day they die, in the hope for future resurrection.
The important thing is to have something that says, I want to be frozen under any circumstances. So, pop the head back, get all my tools in place. So, give it a little lift if necessary, not too hard because you don't want to destroy the throat. I would say around the age of 6 was when I first thought seriously about my mortality. And of course, as a 6-year-old, I was terrified. And I hoped that you could do something about it somehow. And then I heard about cryonics, and I loved the idea, but I thought it was for millionaires. And then another few years went by, and one of the UK cryonics people was on TV talking about paying through life insurance. And that's all it took, because I signed up the next day.
Once the person dies, we would really like to start cooling them down on water ice and circulating the blood by chest compressions and giving ventilation to the lungs. It's those first few minutes which are critical to the brain damage.
So it's pink or red, but never mind. When we start the surgical part, we remove the blood, we put in those chemicals. We don't really know how much damage they do. We could be destroying any hope as soon as we flush those chemicals through.
It takes us about 3 days to cool down the person and a further day to actually fly them out to America.
The possibility of life after death is explored in Phoenix, Arizona by the Cryonics Society. They believe that cryobiology, the freezing of biological matter, is the answer. A model demonstrates how one person, a California man who died of cancer, has already been frozen. A freezing liquid replaces the blood supply, and the subject is wrapped in aluminum foil and placed in a capsule at 220 degrees below 0 centigrade.
This is the patient care bay where currently we store all 134 of our patients, starting with a very old unit, which we just keep for historical reasons. That's Dr. James Bedford, who was the very first cryonics patient from 1967, so we keep his original capsule. So these custom-made dewars are quite expensive, but hopefully they'll last for several decades. To understand what's inside these, it's helpful to have this 3D printed model. Inside we have 4 whole-body patients, each of whom are contained in an aluminum pod like this. Move the patient, put them in there, and that's where they go for the long term. I like to think of cryonics or cryopreservation as essentially an extension of emergency medicine. If you think back, say, 60 years or so before we had CPR and various other methods of resuscitating people, if someone's heart stopped beating, they stopped breathing, and they fell on the floor, we would have checked them out, felt no pulse, and said that person's dead, and we would have said that's the end. Today, of course, we don't do that. We do CPR on them, we do defibrillation, shock their heart, and we bring them back to life many times. So today, we would say those people weren't really dead. In our view today, when we declare someone to be clinically dead, it's the same thing. They're really not dead. Almost all the cells in their body are still alive. Just some critical function has gone wrong. When the patient's declared clinically dead, we will move them from the hospital bed, put them in the ice bath like this. We'll cover them with ice externally. We'll put water on there and we'll circulate the icy water around the patient to accelerate the cooling. So what we're saying is when today's medicine reaches its limits, give the patient to us and we're going to protect the cells. We're going to drop their temperature to a very, very low level at which there is no metabolic activity, and that patient can then wait for as long as it takes, decades, a century even, until we have the medical technology to repair whatever killed them in the first place, in today's sense, and in fact rejuvenate their body so they can come back young and healthy and fresh again. Now, some of our patients choose just to preserve their brains. That's my own choice, in fact, but about half of our members are doing the whole body and half just the brain. And you might wonder, why on earth would you want to just take your brain along? Well, you need a body. Well, the idea is that by the time we can repair trillions of cells, we have that kind of technology, we can reverse the aging process. If we have that kind of capability, then regenerating a body will probably be relatively easy by comparison. Time is the enemy, because the longer you sit there untreated, obviously, the faster things are falling apart. If something goes fatally wrong with your body, old age, heart attack, cancer that can't be cured, what are you going to do? Well, cryonics is really your only option. It's not an option any of us want to take. We hope to avoid that. We hope to be able to stay alive and healthy. But if we can't, cryonics is there. It's a bridge to the future, really. It's taking us from here to the future, to a time when we do have that kind of control over aging.
This is the one where my husband is, right in here. And you know, some people touch this and they feel that it's cold and it's metallic, it's not warm and fuzzy. But to me, this is wonderful. This is very warm and nice. This fills me with joy when I'm here, to know that he's safe, that he won't die, that he has a chance to get to the future where he can live again and be my young, handsome guy. Yeah. I was an atheist. Everybody else had their churches and things giving them answers as to what was going to happen after they died. And as an atheist, I didn't have that. And I said, yes, it's an answer. That's a way that technology can extend life without having to resort to mystical ideas and that sort of thing. This is a picture of my husband when I first fell in love with him. He was cryopreserved 3 years ago. In the end, he looked at me and he said, "Swart, I sure hope this works." So I do too. I hope to see him again one day. Yeah.